So this time, this will probably be the last development video related to Turtle Trial that I'll do. I'll probably release one more video which will be a little bit of a teaser of the game's final state, and then I'll probably put it on itch.io so anyone can play it. So this is pretty much the last development, and I'm going to be dedicating this to the controller support, as well as kind of showing what we've done and maybe some of the code that we've looked at. So let's get straight into it. So first things first, I've added controller support. Right now I'm using a controller and I can open different buttons, I can open different UIs, and I can click different buttons. I've turned off the sound for now, just so it's not too annoying, but this all works, the sound works. I can click whatever I need and it works. I can change over to different UI buttons at the top and control it in different ways. Obviously this works for mouse, the mouse is all set up, the game is pretty much in a finished state. The controller support was the last thing I need to do. Let's just add a few points here. I'll show you the code and how it all works in a minute, because this is something that isn't really too shown that much online. So as you can see, when I highlight over them with the mouse, it worked. It showed you the different text. Obviously, because it's a controller, I had to do something different for that to be able to work. But instead of the event, which was the pointer, if you remember a long time ago, we did the event for in the event system for being able to hover over a specific button to tell you what they do. It's basically the same thing except using select and deselect. As you can see, it's all there, it all works. I can click one of these. Let's just click, I don't know, click this one, and I can go across, come back down, and click on a different one. And obviously go back up and look around like that. If I quickly turn off, say, all of our other UI, let's get rid of all this. If I quickly turn off UI, and you can see this now, and then I click on a random button, you can see the navigation. This is quite a nice tool, and you can see it's explicit, and I basically tell it exactly where the button should go when you click on a certain thing. If you want to go down, it'll go straight to this button and you can go across. I'll quickly show the code for it. Let's just go to objectives, because it's the very simplistic example. So all I do is get the event, system, game object, and get the component, and then I use a specific method or whatever. Then I specifically I set the specific button on it selected to the first object button, if that makes sense. And this basically moves it from one UI to the other. It sets a specific button active as its main select. And then I keep doing that basically for other examples. So I'll do it when I open it, I basically set it to that UI. And if we go into here, you'll see that I've got the same thing. Obviously all I'm doing is just getting the UI system, just so I'm able to access the methods, functions and such, and then I do the same thing. So when this opens, set the selected button to here, because it can't really interact, the different UIs, different buttons can't really interact properly with different game objects. You have to set them. So that's what I've done, I've set them. Each time I go to a specific button, I set them, and each time I go and buy an object, I set it back to the original button, a button that isn't getting turned off. And the reason why I do this for each one of these upgrades is because, like I said, it disables the button for the upgrade, and then the game doesn't know which to navigate to the button. The controller doesn't know which one to select, so we've got to tell it where to select, which in our case we told it to select the trader or the exchange button. Okay, moving on. So we've done a lot in this experience, in this project, and some of the things that we looked at last time, we basically did a testing session, and then I went over the things that we had to do, that I had to look at. I already started working on it, but here's the list of things that I've done. Obviously, slight changes. I'm not going to go over it again. You can read it if you want by pausing the video. But I've basically completed everything. It didn't take too long, only a few days, and then it was finished. The saving took longer than I expected, but mainly because of the saving each upgrade unlock, and saving the lore took a little bit of time. The objective progress definitely took time, but the rest of it was fairly straightforward. That's all saved now, it's all completed. Control support is now completely supported, obviously not just for the UI of these, but even the UI for when I press start on the controller, I can bring up my menu and I can save if I want to. I can click resume. The game now pauses as well, which was a problem I had before. So now the game pauses properly, nothing happens, the time pauses, I can go to the menu. There would be some music playing. I have got some music in the background which is royalty free, completely free to use. It's from the YouTube music library, so it's completely fine, and everything works, buttons work. I can go in here, I can choose whichever level I want. Obviously the level is now fixed. I can interact with different things. There's a bunch of changes I've made in this world, including the way the UI works based on my other game, which the other part of it, which is the main ocean turtle trial. And as you can see, things work fine. I can interact, I can buy stuff if I want, I can close that, I can open this. Everything works perfectly. So controller is now completely supported. And of course, everything is completed. I'm pretty happy with how this project's gone. I've managed to learn quite a few things, some bad, some good. I've managed to improve myself quite a lot. I've done things that I've never done before, especially when I did it at uni. I've done ideas. Obviously, there's just not enough time at uni when the other projects are going on to work on my own type of things, and so I've managed to work on a bunch of new things that I've never even thought of. And there's a lot of things that I worked in this project, like processing, that I've not done quite before, especially in Unity. And there's a bunch of other things I worked on out of the way, not on camera, that I specifically played around with, like animation. And I actually looked at procedural animation for a little while. I might look at that again because that's really fun to look into. Yep, so the last things I'm going to do, which I'm going to do off camera, I'm not going to go over, is just the final touches, which is rotation of the player with the controller, because it already works with mouse as I've shown in the past. But credits, I'll move the credits from the Scrooge game and add them to the credits from my other game for anything that I've actually used, obviously to credit any kind of authors, although mostly everything is created by me. There's only the music really, and the Christmas music, Deck the Halls, which is created by someone else, but that's it, they're all free anyway, but I'll credit them regardless. And that's mostly everything. And then of course I'm going to do a final test on the Xbox One, and because I'm using an Xbox 360 controller just to test this, the controls are relatively the same and compatible, so there shouldn't be any issues. So that is everything in this project. Everything is completed. There's an ending, which I might go back and like quickly make it a bit nicer with adding a few effects and stuff, because it's not quite as amazing as I want it, but that's whether I feel like doing that. I don't have to do that to really say that this game is complete. So yeah, I think everything is fairly done. Let's look at some of the code before I end this off. So I've worked on quite a lot of things, and I'd say about quarter of the time I've developed on this in the videos, I've cut out a lot of the time talking about the code, mainly because there's a lot that I ended up doing off camera and it would just be too many videos. Obviously I've got tons of different data and save systems. I decided to include them in their own files just because why not, and I was having a few issues with trying to get them all together, but no big deal. Obviously, different types of saves, different types of save data, there's a lot of it. Obviously, I've got the main menu, everything's set in stone now. All the UI is now completed. Again, same thing for the menu. I ended up redoing the menu at one point. We've got obviously the C, which everything works now. If I just quickly press this, everything works. All the UI is working. Everything respawns. Our currents are all working. The biomes are all completed. The lore is in the game. Everything is completed. I'm really happy. I redid the UI a little bit for the whales because it wasn't quite working the way I wanted. Upgrades are all working. We can buy all the upgrades. There's absolutely tons and tons of stuff. Obviously, we've got all the UI. Got a bunch of this, which I've made many changes over. Obviously, the code's all going to look different. Especially with things like the hunting, which I ended up changing a little bit. This isn't it. Yeah, I ended up changing it from, for example, Collider to I ended up playing it to move towards and distance, which is in a different. It's in this one. Yep, there it is. Obviously, we changed the food. Now the food is. We got different attributes like camera shape. Ended up being a new one. To quickly show that. Very simple code, nothing too complicated. We also have like camera follow. We did so much in this little project, and I've covered quite a lot of the code off screen. Many things were just testing and just over and over testing. So obviously one of the biggest issues was that biggest changes was to do with the health and how the health was working. As you see, the choices need to be enabled, and then I'm able to choose when I collided with a certain thing. Yeah, I'll just show you that now with the movement. So I just need to die quickly. That little flick that you see at the beginning is just I've actually saved when I was testing the position. I've actually saved the position, so by moving slightly, just to see like a jitter. So that jitter that you see, that's just the loading of the position. So as you can see, let me quickly die. Obviously, enemies now do a certain amount of damage. That was one of the problems I had before. But I believe that's in the list that I showed you before. There you go. So now we're dead. Choose this if we want and go to different ones. Let's just, for the sake of argument, let's just go to main menu. I actually like the main menu quite a lot as well. I've basically put in fish AI, a little bit of a coral reef and the sands and things, and I really like it. So only just credits left to do and the rotation, as I said, and then everything will be finished. So hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully this video wasn't too long, and this is basically a final development log kind of video of what I've done. I've managed to achieve so much in this project, and I've learnt so much that it's been a great experience. Next time, you're probably going to see one more video, as I said, which is like a trailer of this game, and then a link will be in the description to the itch.io so you can play it. But apart from that, I'll be working on next time new projects, so I'm going to be working on much smaller projects. Yeah, I think that's going to do it. So I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to check out the game, and I'll see you next time.